Gole ngambulo luku. With whatever we do. Jioni safu nola. With whatever we do. Hale yide munyu skula. Nyepamne nekudlu. Nyepamne nekudlu kula. Ibuloke sola. Ibuloke nibe todo.
Na?
Lami te jibe norin te nyamen lamin.
Kabana wulo kono.
Wulo kono nyinta mo lamin.
Pabilenki.
Muna ngata afongole.
Haina.
Ngata. Ngoto le. Fabrama.
Mingi. Baba nyola.
Ngoto le Fabrama.
Namu jumara kan kuma diten.
Fabrama.
Jumara mu.
Ndele bare muso.
Nundo. Jamani bere.
Lindo ko.
Jamani.
Bari ngoto man kontande.
Ni bana na mu do kontan.
Ngoto minga ka ngala min de fon filitala. Lamin jibe nori nyala.
Lamin ila siram sama ne binki. Yala so tol sayni no bo mo lakumo mo.
Ngoto.
Nam.
Iterinte yalo ne lamin hakilo diata bake karamngoto. Anu santeng ministry ko di ngole si suko na amake ko do holi
si bitu
bagona ringa
ala ni ko kede namo balo
ala ni na ko na karta bulo be dam ala ni je
ngodo
nam
ngoto mon kontan fere
jama ni mun keda
ite lamin ki wulo ko no nyinta mon ko do fete malo lamin nyanta sila la be la moy kala karango
jama ni karamo da wulo ko
baba
karango wol mo ni ko karango wol woli de lam ngodo dindi wonyanta sila la ala karango la moy yamen kaben fue man kontan anda mande
alla min kombo courant adan dal lo kombo ndo la jankara mol le soron dal ron kamen courant ma dal lo kombo e don dol fana kara mol soron lamin ada lo ni no na so kon ala mu nekela
ama lamin ide fede malo ko le sinol de kelka
fine
e ko yana di mo lamin ya mo na fonye
bir kabin mina kan tambita nteri maning Fatu
ha
tambite la sukar ala dinni wol bebe siri be la moy ka
faru dan so am fana tambita jere ni subala nga dalanta nen kili rinjelet
sa lamin farante ku kili wo ke no la ba lamin bita ka wulo ko no nyinta mo ala mi
amandara fenela
ite dine ko ni man siri kari la sunol
mo ne ka ke afende ma nyaara ni alon
kelentel jikot
afende ma mo ne ke
ite balentel be jikiritel ni man karam me ku kele ya je nata karana mbasa malaya ay tarije
par ñarande kombo courant ho findira kombo ide nara yebe ni sonka bay ko lamin ma ñata la wulo ko kara mo be son afanya membe
ko to wole nati bawo ngalle ni lamin kuntala kombo courant o ka fa me kombo courant asototal wala kinay ko e si suwo kono bari ni ko e si suwo kono be karangol dike la radio lin telel to hani tele masoto to nyaay man tele soto la bungo bar radio be bulan koto batiri sanga ay si ay alamo
sa do kala nyaadi
ta o bulaji
ado kala nyaadi
kamun ke nyaadi
radio abo la mo la be mo na falaje
ibe la karandiro kala jele
ti jalle be radio ko men ka karande
ile subject ro baby jele baby jele
wala nanga chocho moy fa dan se wolya ngomme tambi kana ngadi ngol jebe ikadum bu ko
asototal de
la min mala be karawala de
bari laftalal ideal on ko inde every year second wala fourth
mun ni ko di ha ko ndego folle sini lamba ndele sini no ba
mba say mba foke en koto wole fango yen wulindi yalo famo keta bat yu fanam bulata ko do me yen nati jambi lamin jiko be nyineka ya bulay kara wulo kono ta yo be bulaje koto dindi ngoy si ayala le sino la moy radio
wala ga munda kara mo man soro lamin nyana kara si so na rega
sinale ayala le sino
dal ko korno ko smalo
kila
mo be ngala ko mo say mi do ni ko no kara
nengi bruzo
am na ko do la da ba rosa no radio ba no bari woro radio ni abe je le ba ngamra do man be buljan dala nyara nyar woro ko fe mi mo la lamin tayra ba rosa
bara te ku folo ajibe nori nya labi tamete
mi ngi mun na de
tegu ja imade nani nyambol sizol le keje kisgi man sizol no le kabun ka nyowa bari nyambu kilo ni manya na kafindi ni nambe ko zo laga
ngale limbeta de be nyambo do dilanna
nyara ni ko rin fennat nada
bari
nada kami bungkoro nyara ngando ko fele ko kede bar ngana ni pelo la dija
iyo ala
bungkoro bismillah bisu diara
pendulala ye fongo tanka sina dulu tanka koro ta koro ta
Good day, viewers and listeners. I am Adenuga Ajibola, your biology teacher, and we are going to continue from where we left off under the plant reproduction. Today we are going to be looking at fertilization in plants. What is fertilization to start with? Fertilization is simply the of male gamete to form a zygote. Male gamete in the plant is known as a pollen grain. So what happens is that after the pollen grain reaches the stigma, it germinates. That is after pollination. So as it germinates, a pollen tube will protrude from it. In the pollen tube, there are two gametes in the pollen tubes. These are the sperms. So when it extends, the pollen tube extends into the ovary and reaches the ovule, which is the egg cell. On reaching the ovule, it discharges the gametes so that one of the male gametes will fertilize an egg, which becomes an embryo, and then the other one will join with two other polar nuclei to form what we call the endosperm, which nourish the seedling. So as we can see, we have two different fertilization taking place. Because of this, we call it double fertilization. Now looking at this, after the fertilization has occurred, the embryo that is formed will go on to form the seed of the fruit. And at the end of the day, the ovary will enlarge itself and form the fruit itself. Now looking at the fruits, we have arrangement of the ovule in the ovary. So that will take us into what we call the placentation. Placentation is simply the arrangement of ovule within the ovary of a flower. So there are different types of placentation which we are going to be looking into in depth. We have marginal placentation. When we have marginal placentation, we have the ovules. They are arranged or they are developed into two separate rows. When the ovule is developed into two separate rows, we have the ovary arranged at the edge of the row. So this we call the marginal placentation, as we can find in peas and in beans. The other type of placentation which we're going to be looking at is the basal placentation. Here we have the placenta. It will develop from the base of the ovary, and a single ovule will be found attached to the base. This is found in marigold plants and in sunflower. Then the next type of placentation which we are going to be looking at is the axial placentation. In axial placentation, the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to it. That is the axial placenta. We have the attachment of the ovules to it. That is, the ovule will be in the central column. We can find this kind of axial placentation in organisms such as the lemon, the okra, tomato, and the habanero pepper. That is the red pepper. Now we go into another type of placentation. We call it the parietal placentation. Parietal placentation is formed when the ovule develops on the inner wall of the ovary. When we have the wall of the ovary, attached to the inner wall of the ovary, we have the ovules developed there. There we call it aerial placentation. Example of this, if we have a transverse section through the cucumber, we see that the seeds are attached to the inner walls of the plant, of the fruit. So we call this the parietal placentation. It can also be seen in fruits such as the watermelon and the pawpaw. Now we look at free central placentation. When we say free central placentation, here we have a kind of placenta in which the ovules, they cluster freely around the column-like central placenta, which is attached to the base of the ovary. So it will just be like one particular column attached to the base, and you have the seeds will be clustered freely around the central-like column. We can find this in plants such as the water leaf. Now, looking at this, we are going to go further to look at germination. Undergone pollination, it has undergone fertilization. Now, how we have the germination of a new plant. Germination is a process which is controlled by enzymes in the plant, in which the seed will begin to develop into a young new plant. So when the seed develops into young new plants, there has to be conditions which will enable this to happen. Here we call them the conditions for germination. There has to be water present. The seed needs the supply of water in order to soften the fruit wall, or what we call the tester of the fruit. So this will allow the radicle to grow and push its way out of the seed. The water which the seed will absorb will activate the enzymes. Then on activation, it will convert the stored starch in the cotyledons, that is the seed coat of the plant of the seed, the cotyledons, or what we call the endosperm, into soluble sugar, which is then transported in solution to the growing region. So the plant can use that is a seedling, in order to germinate. So that's the food that it will use as it is germinating. Now another condition which we are going to be looking at is warmth, or generally we can say temperature. The seed will not start to germinate until the temperature it is favorable. So if the temperature is too low, the seed will not germinate, and when the temperature is too high too, the seed will not germinate, because generally at intense temperature, seeds tend to lose structure. They get denatured because they are proteinous molecule. Then the other condition which is necessary for germination is light intensity. And only a small number of species of plants have seeds which need light to begin. Therefore, we can say light is not an essential condition, because not all seeds need light intensity for germination. So once the cotyledon or the plumule are above the ground, light is needed for photosynthesis. But if they are still in the ground, that is a cotyledon or the plumule, it can germinate irrespective of the presence of sunlight. Now we look at oxygen. Oxygen is very essential for life, and germination, because the plant needs to grow, it is undergoing metabolism. The seeds also need oxygen for germination. The oxygen is the one that is essential, or the one necessary for aerobic respiration. Therefore, the seed will now form as it is undergoing aerobic respiration, producing energy, because energy is needed for germination. And for energy to be synthesized, respiration has to take place. Now we go on to look at what is a seed and how does a seed even come about. A seed develops from an ovule after germination. It is the ovule that forms the seed. It consists of different structure, like what the tough coat, or what we call the seed coat, which encloses the embryo. And it is made up of the plumule. It has what we call the radicle, and it could have one cotyledon or two cotyledon, which we call the seed leaf. In favorable conditions, the seed can grow and become fully independent plants, bearing flowers and seed during its life cycle. But if are not favorable, the seed will undergo what we call dormancy, that is a sort of resting phase in which it will not germinate until the conditions are favorable for it to germinate. In the embryo of the seed are all the potentialities, that is all the necessary things which are necessary for it for development and growth to a mature plant, in order for it to bring about life resembling other members of their own species. Now looking at the features of a seed. The seed has features such as the tester, or we call it the outer coat. The tester is the outer coat of the seed, and it's the one that protects the seed from fungi, bacteria, and insects. Because the tester is the one that actually protects the embryo in the seed. It has to be split open by the radicle before germination can proceed. So if the seed does not split open, there will be no germination. Then we have the hilum. The hilum is a little scar that is left by the stalk which is attached to the ovule, which attach the ovule to the ovary wall. The hilum is a scar left by the stalk which attach the ovule to the ovary wall. Then we have the micropyle. The micropyle is a tiny pore in the testa opposite the tip of the radicle. It admits water, that is, it allows water into the embryo before active germination can take place. Then going about the radicle is embryonic root which grows and develops into the root system of the plant. So the radicle forms the root. Then the plumule is the embryonic shoot. So in it we have 2 or more leaves which are visible with growing point enclosed in them. So it is the plumule that tends to germinate to form what? The shoot system. So radicles form the root and the plumule form the shoot. Then we talk about the cotyledon, which we call the seed leaf. So the grasses and narrow leaf plants like the iris and the blue ball have seeds with one cotyledon. And other example of plants that have one cotyledon are the maize, or what we call the corn. But in other flowering plants, they have 2 cotyledons. These are 2 leaves that the leaves are attached to the plumule and the radicle by a short stalk. They often contain stored food substances which is used during germination stage by the plant. So in most plants, the cotyledons are brought out of the testa and above the ground where they can become green and make food for photosynthesis. So it is the cotyledon, the seed leaf, which is contained in the seed that helps in germination. During germination, it comes out and it helps in the production of food. So on the basis of the number of cotyledon in the embryo, the angiosperm have been divided into 2 large groups. And these groups are the monocotyledon and the dicotyledon. A monocotyledon has only 1 seed leaf, or we say it has only 1 cotyledon. Mono means 1. So we have such in maize plants. Then dicots have embryos with 2 cotyledons or 2 seed leaves. We find that in the beans and other plants. Now we look at seed dispersal. What is dispersal? Dispersal simply means how things are spread about. So talking about seed dispersal, we are looking at different ways in which seeds are being taken apart or taken to different places for germination to be able to take place. So there are different ways in which dispersal occurs. The first one we are going to look at is the wind dispersal. And the other one is the animal dispersal. When we have seeds which have special features in them which enables them to be carried in the wind. So such seeds are dispersed through the wind. These seeds have structures like parachute structures and wings which enables them to be able to be moved by the wind. Then animal dispersals. Under animal dispersals, we have seeds which are brightly colored, and they have fruits which are brightly colored, which this fruit contains a seed. Then the fruits are able to attract different animals to them. When they feed on these fruits, then they are able to take the seeds and disperse them, because it's either tangles in their fur or they ingest it, then they ingest in some other place. So these are the ways in which animals disperse, either by it tangling in their furs. Then when they move about, the seed gets to drop in another location, or after ingestion, when they ingest, like the bird, when they eat on any plant, the seeds of the plant, they get to what defecates in another area, then the seed can start germinating in this other region. So this is how animal dispersal takes place. Now we have water dispersal. These are fruits or seeds that can be taken to different areas by water depending on the structure which they have. Example, we have the coconut. Then other ones, we have the explosive dispersal or exploding. These are seeds that have what we call the pods. So when the pods grow to a point in which what it explodes or it bursts out, when it bursts out, the seeds are being dispersed or taken to different areas in such a way the new seed will start germinating in another location. So we are going to look at different plants of different seeds, and we are going to look at their adaptation, the way the seeds are adapted to dispersal. We look at the maple seed. The maple seed have wings. So these wings assist it in traveling further from the parent plant. So when the wind blows it, the wing will be spinning, acting similarly to that of the helicopter rotor. So as it is spinning, it tends to take the seed location, then germination can start in the new location. Then we look at the dandelion seed, which is very common around us. The dandelion seed have fine air. As it has this fine air on it, so it enables it to be buoyant like a parachute in the air, and it is being carried about. So this, we say it is adapted for wind dispersal through the air-like structure which forms the parachute. Then the coconut seed. The coconut is found in aquatic region, areas where it's very close to water, in such a way that when the seed falls, the seed is enclosed in a structure which is air-filled. This air-filled walls of it allows it to be able to be buoyant in water, and it floats. It is also waterproof, thereby water doesn't sink into the seed of the coconut, thereby it is carried about and it germinates in a new environment. Then we have the dwarf mistletoe seed. Looking at the mistletoe seed, as the fruit ripens, pressure will build inside the fruit of the dwarf mistletoe. So as pressure builds inside, it keeps on building and building until it reaches a point, then bursts open. As it bursts open, it shoots the seed further towards nearby trees at around a speed of 80 km per hour. Thereby, it tends to form or grow on other plants. So this is how the mistletoe grows. So why do seed disperse? If plants spread to a new area, there will be less competition for things like light, water, and nutrients with other plants. As there is less competition, there is a greater chance of survival for the parent plant. Thereby, when the plants or the seeds spread across, it reduces population of a particular area, thereby reducing competition in such a way that it will enable the plants in such area to germinate properly. Now we look at seed dormancy. Dormancy is brought about by unfavorable conditions. When the conditions necessary for germination are not favorable, the seed goes into a resting stage in which it will be alive but not germinating, thereby it's being preserved. For some plants, such like the wheat plant, it can stay for about 15 years before. Then other plants could stay less. It depends on the condition. Thereby, the plant will sustain itself. So in this condition, all the chemical processes of life or living are very slow and little food is available. And as it uses little food, then it's able to preserve itself for a longer period of time. That is how the seed becomes dormant. And dormancy can be broken when conditions are favorable again for the seed to germinate. Now we look at the fruit. What is a fruit? Botanically, a fruit is a matured ovary. So we say a fruit of a plant is a matured ovary and part. In the fruits, it usually contains seed, though we have seedless fruits. It is now this seed that will develop, which is developed from the ovule after fertilization, though there are some which does not have. Okay, let me take fruit again. What is a fruit? Botanically, a fruit is a matured ovary and its associated parts. It usually contains seed, which have developed from the enclosed ovule after fertilization. Although development without fertilization occurs, there we call it parthenocarpy, in which we don't have fertilization, but we have development of fruit. For example, in bananas. So looking at the fruit structure, the structure of the fruit contains two major areas, that is the seed and the pericarp. The pericarp is consisting of the endocarp, the mesocarp, and the exocarp. The endocarp is the inner region, then the mesocarp is the middle region, while the exocarp is the outer region of the pericarp. Then the seed contains the endosperm, the embryo, and the seed coat. Now looking at the pericarp in details. The pericarp is what we call the ovary wall, which surrounds the seed, or what we call the seed container. Pericarps are referred to as the seed containers. It has three regions, as we've said earlier: the exocarp or the epicarp, which is the outer part, or what we refer to as the skin of the fruit, which could be peeled up in some plants. Then we have the mesocarp, which is the middle part, or what we refer to as the fleshy part of the fruit. Then the endocarp is the inner region, which is a little bit tough in some plants. It is the one that encloses the seed. Looking at the structure of the mango, the exocarp is the skin of the mango. Mesocarp is the fleshy part in which is being eaten in the mango. Then the endocarp is the outer part after the flesh has been eaten. That particular structure, which can be split into two to find the seed inside, is called the endocarp. So it is in the endocarp you have what the seed. Now we look at the different types of fruit that we have. Based on fertilization of flowers, fruits are classified into two major groups. We have the true fruits and the false fruits. And how do we refer to such fruit as true fruit and false fruit? When the fruit forms in the ovary, that is, the fruit is formed inside the ovary of the flower through fertilization, such fruits are referred to as true fruits. But in a situation whereby the fruit does not form in the ovary, it forms from other parts of the flower other than the ovary, such as the calyx, the thalamus, or the corolla. These are referred to as false fruit. Examples of true fruits are the strawberry, while false fruits include the pear and the apple. Now we are going to look at classification of fruits. Fruits can be classified into three. We have the simple fruits, the aggregate fruits, and the multiple fruits. Now we are going to take them one after the other and look into details. What is a simple fruit? A simple fruit is developed from one single ovary containing one or more carpel and may not include accessory structures. A simple fruit is developed from one single ovary containing one or more carpel and may or may not include additional structure. So when a fruit develops from just one single ovary in the flower, is referred to as simple. An example or different types of simple fruits include: 1. The fleshy fruit. What is a fleshy fruit, and what are the features of a fleshy fruit? A fleshy fruit has what we call the epicarp and the accessory parts developing into succulent tissues, that is, tissues which are soft. One or more layer of the pericarp during ripening, then the pericarp is very fleshy at maturation, that is, it has soft pericarp. Example of fleshy fruits include the berries. Berries have one to many seeds and a pericarp that becomes soft and often sweet and slimy as it becomes matured. Example of fleshy fruits include grapes, eggplants, the tomatoes, the green pepper, blueberries, guava, banana, and papaya. Then another type of fleshy fruits include the Hesperidia. Hesperidia have leathery pericarp that produce fragrant oil and soft segmented pulp. When we look at the Hesperidia, when the outer coat is being peeled, that is the pericarp, and when it's being squeezed, it produces a fragrant oil, which is kind of oily when touched, and it has a particular smell. Examples of fleshy fruits include all citrus fruits, such as the oranges, the tangerines, the lemon, lime. We have the pomelo and the grapefruit. All these are citrus fruits. Then the other type of fleshy fruits include the peppers. Peppers have thick or hard exocarp. They have a receptacle that partially or completely encloses the ovary. Examples of these include the pumpkins, the cucumbers, the squashes, cantaloupes. Then we have the watermelon. These are examples of fleshy fruits. Then the last part of fleshy fruits which we are going to look at are the pomes, or what we refer to as accessory fruits. Examples of accessory fruits include the pear and the apple, and their feature include that what they have a bulk that is formed from a swollen receptacle, and they have a thin exocarp and a cartilaginous mesocarp. So the apples and the pears are examples of pomes. So with this, we are going to be looking at the other types of fruits in our next lesson. I want you to stay tuned and stay blessed. I remain Adenuga Ajibola. Thank you very much.
Lampikan, even Caspo Jibi. Eh, Cospo Fila Banta, Kodo Filina Caspo Sana.
Kodo Barsu Telego. What's the wrong Mamma Mandiba? Hello, Mamado. Abijan drunk Cotaran. To Korimbala, Yendi Man and Caspo will say. Ha, Bantan had a fancy. Yo, okay, Mabatuna. Abarka Bakayami.
Maria.
No.
Ite Momodu Matarano Batalo Banco Canyadi, the Caspo Kini Tajan, Sain.
Godo, Femano Balu, Yakelo Hotel. If a Bantala Banco can da, it's a Caspo Kino Canada Villa. I have a 3 year in Yami, of a Sonia Wolfania.
Inyanta minkela dorong walanka log onto www.baluo.com. Ye prepaid electricity sang minka bonale electricity company solto mimbale Gambia Banko Kanjang, Senegal, Mali, Nigeria and Sierra Leone.